I'll let Andrew kind of talk more about that.
Well, let me just say, there has been nobody in my life that has believed in me and what I've gone through more than Karis.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Karis. This is my boyfriend, Andrew. He is joining me for this video. Right now, I'm actually in the middle of doing a little series on relationships. So if you haven't checked out the other videos yet, go ahead and do so. It will be linked in the description down below. Today, we are going to talk all about how to be in a relationship with somebody who deals with mental illness. So when I started dating Andrew, he was diagnosed with bipolar 1, and then it was after we started dating, actually, when I started struggling with some mental illness problems with myself. I struggle with anxiety, and in the past I've dealt with like seasonal depression and stuff like that, and mental illness is just like a huge thing for both of us. We're very like huge advocate of it, and I think there's like a lot of stigma centered around mental illness, and so we just wanted to talk about what it's like for us to be in a relationship with one another, how to, I don't know, be with one another when we're dealing with those issues, and we want to for sure say, like, this is not prescriptive. We're not saying you have to do these things in order to have a successful relationship. We just wanted to share our story with you.
Our story and how we've navigated it so far, and we're by no means perfect. This is by no means prescriptive or anything like that, but if we can help just one person out there, this video is worth it.
Yeah. Okay, so our very first tip is whoever in the relationship is struggling with mental illness issues, they need to seek out professional help. I say this because I think whenever you enter a relationship and your significant other is struggling, you instantly want to help them, but in some instances, there's nothing you can do. It's purely like something they need to figure out with somebody that understands and has studied the brain. So I'm gonna let Andrew take over and kind of explain that a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, I think it's so important not to rely merely on your partner, but also to have professional help, to have therapeutic counsel. And I don't just mean, going to your pastor or whatnot, but I mean going to a professional counselor that is able to help you live your life, to learn how to live with the mental illness that you have, and to make you feel beautiful while having it.
And not only therapy, but another important part of this whole deal is like seeking the right kind of medication. So I remember, like, in the beginning of our relationship, I just really had no idea what bipolar was or anything like that. And so when Andrew would go into like mood swings, I would feel like it was somehow my fault, or I could do something different to make sure I can get him out of it. But it's not like that. There wasn't really anything that I could do to get him out of the misery that he was going through in his brain. It was, we had to more so rely on the medication working and him going to his counselor and talking it out. So just really try your best not to rely only on your significant other, but also seek professional help and do those things to help you as well.
And within professional help, there's the therapeutic counsel, and then always stay on your medicine. It's going to take time to find that right dosage, but when you do, it is life-saving to always stay on that and never to try to get off it because you feel like you can handle it. As soon as you get off it, it's going to lead to a lot more suffering.
And again, that kind of depends on what it is you're dealing with. With my anxiety medication, for example, I think maybe eventually I can get off of it, but with Andrew's medicine, like, I've always told him if he wasn't on medication, I wouldn't be with him. I couldn't put myself through that. Like, medicine is something he's going to be on for the rest of his life because it's essential. So if you are with somebody who's completely refusing to take medicine or just refusing to get help. I know at first taking medicine, it's a lot. You can't just force somebody to do it. But if you're with somebody that's just refusing any other help and they just want you to fix the problem, know that that might not be super sustainable. But okay, we're gonna move on to the second tip.
Okay, so our second tip for today is not just to seek professional help with medicine and therapeutic counsel, but it's also to make sure you have that emotional atmosphere set in place, that support system, which is fulfilling, one that's very purposeful, one that is affirming of you taking medicine, one that is affirming of you going to seek therapy and seeing that not as a weakness, but as a great strength for opening up. Even so, I think it's so important, like for me personally, having my white German Shepherd Sophie in the mix and having...
We're really going to talk about your dog right now.
I love my white German Shepherd Sophie, and I have another German Shepherd, by the way, too. Dogs are a magnificent way to be comforted, and I strongly suggest walking your dog, developing that relationship with your dog. But first and foremost, of course, my sweetheart is my number one support system by far and away. And then on top of that is like my sister and then my other sister and brother-in-law who are wonderful and
just like family support in general means a lot. And one of the reasons we wanted to include this tip is because, again, I know some people feel like if they are in a relationship with somebody with mental illness, they need to be there for them 24/7, and that is hard. You cannot possibly be there for somebody 24/7 because you have a life too. And I remember sometimes, like when Andrew would go into some mood swings, it would be like during like school and stuff, and I couldn't stay up with him, and so I had to reach out to his family and be like, hey, Andrew's not doing well right now, can you stay up with him and be with him? And without them, it would have been really hard to be there for him from a distance. And so always surround yourself with a community of people that believe you, understand you, and love you, and it's going to be a lot easier to go through these hardships in life.
Yeah, and I love that. And not just believing in you, but believing what you're going through and what you're saying, and not just assuming that, you know, you're just playing the victim card or, you know, that you're just making excuses, but truly just always believing in what that person is going through.
And I think that's like the hardest part of mental illness is like people just don't really believe it all the time, especially if you've never gone through it. Like, I'll be honest, when I first met Andrew, I didn't really understand much about mental illness. I did think like sometimes people were just, I don't know, being a baby and that they could just like snap out of it. It wasn't until I started experiencing like some anxiety and depression when I started noticing like, oh, like this is real. And so surround yourself with people who believe you and have a solid support system, because without people it's hard to make it through this rough life. Okay, and our final tip, which by the way we have so many more tips, so if you want us to do more videos about this, comment down below, let us know. This is like our favorite thing to do, is open up about like mental illness and stuff like that, because it means a lot to us and we want to help anybody else that goes through it. But our final tip is, I kind of hit up on it earlier, it is that even if you don't understand it, believe it. What I mean by that is, if your significant other, if they are going through something, it might be really hard for you to relate and understand because it's something you've never experienced before, but just simply believing them will make such a huge difference. And I would think like that meant a lot to Andrew. When I first met him, I had no idea what bipolar meant. I'd only seen the things we see on TV, which, by the way, the things we see on TV about bipolar or any mental illness, honestly, is not always shown.
It's more of a caricature rather than, you know, something that's actually looked into and researched. You know, there are movies, shows out there that do very well.
Yeah.
However, the vast majority, you know, portray and paint bipolar in a rather negative light, that you're just absolutely crazy. And
you're not that crazy.
I'm
I'm kidding. Well, okay, but what I was saying was, really, like when I first met Andrew, the only thing I knew about bipolar was the things I saw on TV. And so if I would have just told him that he's being weird and just not believed him when he was going through like the depressive episodes and stuff, I think it would have been a little harder to go through that. So even if you don't understand it, just believe it. And so I'll let Andrew kind of talk more about that.
Let me just say, there has been nobody in my life that has believed in me and what I've gone through more than Karis. She's been incredible, and she has been my number one support system, and she is also the number one person.
But not the only support system.
But not the only, but also the number one person who has always believed in what I'm going through And I think we're often very afraid of what we don't understand. And because of that, we want to try to contain everything within our understanding. And so anything outside of that understanding, we're like very, very like afraid of it, and we inch back from it. But in reality, when we go and believe in that person, that is something that takes incredible strength to do, and not just assume that they're making excuses and thinking even the worst of them, but believing in them despite what you think is believable.
But I actually have one more bonus tip I wanted to leave you all with, and that is, if you do struggle with mental illness, I want you to know, like, it does not make you weak, and in some ways it's actually one of your greatest strengths. I say this because Andrew has helped me become such a much better person because of the way he is, and bipolar has such a huge impact in that. And so I hear about like the way Andrew was before he was diagnosed with bipolar, and I mean, I think I would have liked that person, but I don't think I would have loved that person the way I love Andrew now. Like, ever since he was diagnosed with bipolar, he's changed a lot, and he's changed for the better, I believe. And so I don't want you to think just because you have this diagnosis that it makes you weak. It actually makes you beautiful. Like, it can be your greatest strength. And like, because Andrew has gone through bipolar, he's been one of the most compassionate, understanding person ever. Like, he's been able to deal with a lot of my crap and some of the traumas I've gone through, and comforted me through it because he understands what it feels like to be in that like time of depression and stuff like that. So I just want to let you all know, like,
through our mental illness, our greatest power has been the compassion we can show one another,
and others,
and in turn show that compassion to others around us.
And mental illness it's just like such a common thing that we tend to hide. There are a lot of people around us who struggle with this, and so being open about it if you can, and sharing it with other people, like, it impacts so many people. And so just know that, like, again, it doesn't make you weak, and you are beautiful just the way you are. So do you have anything else to add? Because that's about it.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh my gosh, no, you can't be weird next year on camera.
Such a great job.
Contain yourself, we're almost done. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. Again, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and let me know if you want to see more videos like this. Follow me on Instagram. Andrew doesn't really do social media, so
no, it's not a bad thing. No,
it's not a bad thing. It's actually good for his mental illness. But yeah, feel free to follow me on Instagram, DM me on there, subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos like this. You can catch up on this mini series that I have been doing on relationships. I'll have all the videos linked in the description down below. But that's all I have for you today, and until next time, bye.
Bye.
Not the awkward wave again. You always do the awkward wave.
Bye.